to the nation's official podcast. We are your hosts. I am TJ Kern. That is Blake Hartsfield. Blake, this is not going to be a very fun podcast. We got a lot to get into, a lot to talk about, a lot going on in Red Raider land. But first, how you doing, man?
Week is going okay considering what we had to witness on Saturday night. But let's just jump into it, man.
Man, we had to stay up late. We had to witness it. And 9 p.m. Central kickoff at Washington State. And a couple weeks ago, we kind of laughed it off. It could be a trap game, blah, 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 this and that. And Blake, I'm just going to come out and say it. That team that we did the preview for and kind of had fun picking the record is the opposite of what we're witnessing right now. The Red Raiders go up to Pullman, Washington, and get beat. And really, the score doesn't do the game justice. 37-16, Blake. No Taj Brooks, no bueno for the Red Raiders.
Yeah, TJ, it's really frustrating. It feels like Groundhog Day as a Tech fan, where you fall for the banana in the tailpipe, you drink the Kool-Aid in the offseason, and then they come out and just lay an egg. And TJ, this is 2 eggs in a row. I mean, the game against, to open the season was not very good. And then TJ, this was just terrible. From the opening kickoff where you can't field a kick and you muff the punt, you muff the kick and then they recover it. TJ, they don't do anything well. They're just flat out, they're a bad football team. And then on Saturday night, look, 4 turnovers. And then you go 1 of 5 on 4th down. So that's like 4 more turnovers. So you're looking at like 8 turnovers in the game.
We're going to get into the analytics, my friend. Trust me.
On top of the turnovers, you have 10 penalties for 80 yards, taking points off the board. Just bad on all 3 phases of the ball, TJ. And through 2 weeks, we don't have a very good football team in Lubbock.
They did not come out prepared. It was an undisciplined football team. It was
poorly
a sloppy
coached
start.
Yep.
Poorly coached. Too many penalties. Just a lot going on. But that being said, I'm sitting there at the end of the first, and I even put it on Twitter. I'm like, as bad as this quarter has been, you're still the better football team. I still expect you to win.
Are you the better football team, TJ? Are you better than Washington State? Because they just beat
the quarter. I was convinced that I was like, man, as bad as this has been, I still expected them to come out and continue to play better. And it just never happened.
No, this was a stinker all the way around, TJ. There's no other way to put it. You hit the nails on the head. Undisciplined, poorly coached, bad situational football, bad complementary football, bad decision-making by the coaches, bad play calling. I mean, everything about it was bad. I struggled to find anything good from it, frankly, TJ. It was atrocious. And look, here's the bottom line. And I know you want to get into some offensive things, and we're going to. But to me, it starts with the defense. Coach McGuire talked about it in his press conference. He said, you're not going to win a lot of games when you're 129th in the country on defense, and that's the truth. And bottom line, TJ, is they gave up 600 yards passing to a subdivision quarterback at Abilene Christian in week 1. And then they give up 197 yards rushing to a quarterback that's like the kid from Friday Night Lights that can't really throw the ball very well, and he's not super athletic and can't really beat you with speed, but he runs for 197 yards on you, and it's unacceptable.
How do you let somebody that they wanted to make them one-dimensional? I believe they came out and said, and the coverage was a little bit better early in the game. I'll give those guys credit. Coverage was a little bit better. And then it was like QB power, QB option right, QB left, like QB counter, like, play breaks down, I'm going to run. 197 yards. You gave me that number, and I about died today.
Yeah,
I didn't know. I didn't look at the box score.
It's insanity.
It was 197
TJ.
yards.
He went 9 of 19 throwing for 115 yards, a touchdown, and a pick. Pretty pedestrian, right? Like nothing exceptional. In fact, I'd say that's well below average. But he runs for 197 yards, and you're kind of like, how in the world did y'all give up 197 yards to that guy? Like of all people, to that guy. So a bad football team, TJ. The offense isn't off the hook either.
No, and let's just go ahead. I mean, we'll get right into it, man. Your guy, you are the captain of the Baron Morton fan club, the Baron Morton hype train, the whatever you want to call it, man. Baron Morton has been your guy. He's been your guy on this podcast. He's been our guy. He's played some really good football at times. He had a terrible game in what was probably the worst game of his career on Saturday.
That was easily the worst game of his career, TJ. He's not hurt, so he wasn't playing through an injury. He had a bad night. I'm not going to sit here and make a lot of excuses for him. He didn't have a good night. He missed some throws that normally he makes. I don't think the play calling and the offensive system was doing him any favors Saturday night, nor do I think was the offensive line doing him any favors on Saturday night. I thought that group had another really bad performance. And that's probably the most frustrating thing for me on that side of the ball is the offensive line continues to spin its wheels in the mud and not make any progress. But he had a bad night, TJ. There's no way to defend it.
Yeah, I mean, look, it'd be one thing if I was going to come on here and say Baron Morton is a terrible quarterback. Baron Morton can't make these throws, but we've seen Baron Morton make these throws, okay?
Yeah.
But Baron Morton was throwing the ball high. He was throwing the ball wide. He was throwing the ball on the ground. He wouldn't step up in the pocket. He was throwing off his back foot. I mean, it was just tough to watch.
He had a bad night, TJ. It happens. Good quarterbacks can have bad nights. But yeah, I wouldn't give up on Baron Morton. I'm not giving up on Baron Morton. I suspect, if nothing else, he will come back this week and play a good game against North Texas and score a bunch of points because based on what we've seen on the other side of the ball and what North Texas is bringing in, they're going to have to score a bunch of points. But we'll get into that here shortly. I'm not giving up on Baron Morton, as bad of a game as it was.
And look, a lot of Red Raider fans are pointing to Louisville and a certain quarterback by the name of Tyler Shuck.
Don't do this.
Saying, hey, the guy's
no, not
playing
you.
good football.
I'm saying Tech fans in general. Don't do that. Like, don't do that to yourself. Rather, Shuck is playing better than Morton right now or not is irrelevant to the overall direction of where you want your program to go. Right. Going to Baron Morton was the correct call, and I'm not going to change my opinion on that.
No, I will back that up. You basically Tyler Shuck apparently wanted to come back, regardless of the comments that were made about what he said about Lubbock. But that being said, he's up there looking like a solid D1 quarterback right now, and Baron Morton is struggling. So you handed
he had one bad game. He had one bad game, TJ. He was excellent week one and had to be for them to hang around and win that game. I suspect he will bounce back this week against North Texas and play well. But in order for that to happen, the offensive line has to play better. The play calling has to be better. TJ, 13.
If you give me a PlayStation controller, right, and we're playing NCAA, you against me,
yeah,
I guarantee you I'm not going to call 13 screen passes or bubble screens.
13 bubble screens or whatever it was. Like it. I understand what conceptually they're trying to do, TJ. What they're trying to do is create a numbers game on the outside and on the inside with the box, right? Where it's an RPO where if it's a light box, you turn, you hand it off to the running back. Normally that's Taj Brooks, right? And against the light box, you like to think he can get you 3 to 5 yards and be a positive play, kind of the bread and butter of your offense. If it's a heavy box because they're tired of Taj Brooks slamming it down Main Street, you kick it out to a receiver on a numbers game where you've got a 3-on-2 or a 4-on-3, and you pick up 5 to 7 yards. And if you break a tackle, it's a 15 or 20 yard play. So conceptually, I get it. 13 screen passes when the running game was semi-effective. It wasn't obviously what it was with Taj Brooks. As a whole, man, I don't understand the play calling. Throw the ball down the field. Baron Morton can throw it down the field, but there was nothing called for that.
There weren't a bunch of plays called going down the field. He didn't have a lot of time to get the ball down the field. And when he did have time to get the ball down the field, he wasn't making the throws. I mean, like you said, it was just one of those performances where you just shake your head. I mean, seriously, I even at halftime, I still had a little bit of hope that this thing could turn around. Um, but no, it just never got any better. And I
You
don't
got boat
think
raced.
State's a
They got
very good
boat
football team.
raced. Washington State just boat raced them. Bottom line. I mean, we
They
use
got
that
boat
term for
raced by
basketball.
not a very good football team.
Yeah, and we use that term in basketball all the time, but that just happened to your football team. They got boat raced. They were never in the game after halftime. It was 27-10 at halftime, and the game was over. And we weren't competitive. And I don't understand a lot of it, TJ. And then just the overall response, I guess, from the coaching staff has been hit and miss for me. Um, I don't particularly. Well, I guess we got to talk about Micah Hudson before I get into that. So
Well,
I'll let you do that.
Micah Hudson's on my it's on my list.
All
Do
right,
you
let's
want to
follow
talk
your
about
list. I don't
coaches
want to get
first,
I don't want
or
to
do
get
we
ahead of
want
us
to just
here.
get to Micah Hudson?
No, you're the captain of this ship. I don't want to get ahead of ourselves. I just have a lot of things I want to say about all this because it's also frustrating.
Hey, you're my guy. We'll bring it up because Micah Hudson's supposed to be my guy because I'm a playmaker guy. Your 5-star wide receiver again is nowhere to be found. It'd be one thing, Blake, if this team was hitting on all cylinders, 2-0, blah, blah, blah. Like, we're so talented, we're going to redshirt this guy. That's not the case. This is a football team. And Coach McGuire's response to, I believe it was Don Williams' question, had to be one of the most ignorant answers I've ever heard.
I don't think look. You know how I think about Coach McGuire as far as the CEO of the program, right? His ability to build his hype man machine, his ability to um, just steer the ship in the right direction, right? I'm with you. I thought that response to that question was awful, right? To instead of talking about a 5-star who was the number one rated receiver coming out of high school, getting on the field, he goes into this. Well, who are you going to take off the field? You're going to take off, Josh Kelly, who's number 3 in the country in receiving, or Douglas, or Coy Eakin, who's caught a bunch of touchdown passes. It's like, no, I don't want you to take those guys off. I want your offensive coordinator, who you know, praised as the second coming of God himself, to be creative enough to put him on the field and not take snaps away from other guys, right? Like, figure out
You
packages
can't go
for him.
empty. Can't
Yeah,
go 5 wide. Can't go
you,
4 wide.
you can't put Dre McCray on the bench and go 4 receivers and no tight ends, or like, I want you to have some creativity, call different sets, get different personnel groups in there. But to act like Micah Hudson can't get on the field because you can't take anybody off the field, it's a terrible answer to me, TJ. It doesn't look good at all.
No, it was a joke of an answer. You mean to tell me you're going to run Coy Eakin out there for every offensive snap of the game? Josh Kelly's going to play every offensive snap of the game? Micah Hudson isn't talented enough to play against Abilene Christian and Washington State?
It doesn't make any sense to me. I just, again, you hit the nail on the head with, if you were 2-0 and we're crushed both teams and he's always not ready yet, we want to save him for conference. Okay, I still would be like raising my eyebrow at you and going like, what are we doing here, right? But after what you've had, and especially on Saturday night when your offense needed a spark, like, why not throw him out there and see if he can make a play for you?
I mean, and then a lot of Red Raider fans have been calling for Micah Hudson. The media had to answer for it. McGuire had to answer the question. He knows it's coming, and he still didn't handle it well. Then everybody's got to look at his Twitter and his social media pages, which over the last couple of days have been very mysterious, if you want to use that term. Although he did come out today and his IG post was "I'm all in," and bro, you got to be worried about losing this kid.
Oh, there's no doubt. If you don't play, he doesn't hang around if you don't get him on the field and get him involved in the offense, right? He didn't come here to sit behind the 3 receivers who you claim can't come off the field to get Micah Hudson on the field. Like, that's not why he came to Tech. He came to be a part of the on-field product, to be a productive player year one, and he's not being given that opportunity.
And it's all about relationships, is what Micah Hudson said. Those are his words. The reason he committed to Tech, the reason he stayed true to Tech is because of the relationships that he built with this coaching staff. And he gets on campus and he can't get on the field. It's
Yeah,
it's mind blowing.
it doesn't make any sense at all to me, TJ. Again, it's not about taking guys off the field. It's about your offensive coordinator, who you think very highly of, being creative enough to get all of them packages and snaps and design plays. Right, get your playmakers the ball. You're not going to convince him that Micah Hudson's not a playmaker. Get him on the field.
I don't want to see Jalen Connors in the Wildcat. I want to see Micah Hudson running routes.
Yeah. No, I'm preach.
So that being said, that can lead us to another conversation that we've got to have, which is the fourth down rate and analytics. And it's a topic that we've talked about a bunch on this program here on the Nations of
Yeah,
Football
it's
podcast with TJ and Blake. We talked about it last season. We talked about it in McGuire's first season. Okay. And there has to be a time and place. I understand you're behind. Okay, screw it. We're gonna go, we're gonna be aggressive, we're gonna go on fourth down. We have no choice. That wasn't the case early on in some of these calls. Strictly analytics led to some of these fourth down calls, which then led to the play calls that weren't executed. And like they go 1 of 5 on fourth down.
it's additional turnovers, TJ. You know that I'm a believer in the analytics. But at this point, I think they've swung too far to the analytics. We talked about it a little bit last year where they were doing this early in the year, where it's like at some point, common sense has got to win out. And when your defense is 129th in the country, and you as a defensive coach, and his quote said, "I'm a defensive guy. I'm embarrassed by how we're playing defense." Well, maybe help out your defense a little bit and don't give them the ball on our 38-yard line because you decide to go for it on 4th and 4 on your own side of the field. Can we cross midfield before we start considering the fourth and the go for it stuff? Unless it's a 1-point game in the fourth quarter and you've got like a 4th and 1 on your own 40, that I can understand. But
Or you're behind a couple scores and you don't have a choice, like
yes,
I said a few minutes ago.
but can we cross midfield first, coach, and then start playing? Thinking about going for it on fourth, please.
And he even kind of that Micah Hudson answer was, "Oh, people are clamoring for Micah Hudson to play. Oh, people are clamoring for me to stop going for it on fourth down." No, we're not clamoring for you to stop going on fourth down. We're stopping. We don't want you to do it stupidly.
Yeah, and TJ, his just whole demeanor, that press conference, other than, again, and I
It's
the
not the
one
same
thing
Troy McGuire that we're used to.
no, and it points to unrest in the building, right? He knows they got a fire that is out of control in there that they got to try to put out, and he's very clearly on edge. The penalties. TJ, they're an undisciplined, bad football team that turns the ball over, and Coach McGuire knows it, and he knows that if you continue to do this, that people are unhappy. He knows the fan base is mad. He knows that there's pressure growing, right? And so there's an edginess to the whole thing. Now, the one thing from the press conference that he did say, and again, that I liked, was owning the defense thing, right? And I think I tip my hat on that. That was the one thing that he said that I really, really liked, where he was embarrassed and they got to get better. And I agree. But everything else, man, it's so out of character. It's very on edge. It's very defensive, and it's not a good look.
It's not a good look at all. And not only that, Blake, I don't see this thing getting any better anytime
No.
soon.
You've seen the ESPN stuff, right? Like
Yeah, yeah. Our own here at the Nation and Scarlet and Black Insider, Jacob posted that the analytics now have the Red Raiders going 3-9.
hard to argue with it. I mean, based on what you've seen weeks 1 and 2, it's kind of hard to argue with it. I mean, your defense is terrible. TJ, again, 600 yards to a Division II quarterback and 197 yards to a quarterback that's not a runner. So, what are we doing?
And I don't know where the cavalry's coming to save it. Now, that being said,
Have you seen
their
the injury
higher
report?
graded players are underclassmen on that defense. So that it is a young young side of the ball.
Have you seen
But
the
I'm
injury
sorry.
report? Everybody's out. I mean, everybody's questionable or out. Like Taj is still questionable and
I did see Braylon Lux today, and
questionable.
yeah, he's questionable, but he like
Bakersfield,
tweeted something like I guess he's trending towards playing or something.
I don't know.
Um,
It's a mess, TJ. And look, he thinks it's bad right now, right? The Tech Twitter, the Tech fan base, the media, and guys like Don Williams asking questions that are clearly getting under his skin. Lose to North Texas, and it's going to be even more uncomfortable.
Bro, I brought it up last week. I brought this game up last week on the podcast before you lost to Washington State,
They can
knowing
score.
that if you did go to Washington State and get beat, Eric Morris, former Red Raider, Mike Leach disciple, is coming to town. And
They
he's
got a good
coming to town
quarterback.
with Arsenal. Sure, they haven't played anybody. I'm going to go over the stats. They're averaging 43 and a half points a game, 527 yards. And, bro, he's a Red Raider. He's
And they got
bringing
a good quarterback. TJ, they've got a Big 12 quarterback that's a former TCU guy that he can sling it and he can move a little bit too. He can hurt you on the ground if you're not careful and don't fix the leaks from this pass. So, week 1 you got a guy who's a pure pocket passer that can't hurt you with his legs. Week 2 you got a guy that only hurts you with his legs. This is a guy that can hurt you both ways. And this defense is licking their wounds, TJ. They have a lot of work to do. And it's not even just schematic, it's discipline. Stop taking penalties. Stop extending drives. Stop taking points off the board with holding penalties or fault. How many false start penalties we have in 2 weeks? Like 8 or 9 now? I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, it's not pretty, bro. And it's one of those things where I don't know if you know where I'm going with this, but I'm praying that this football season doesn't turn into that Adams basketball season that we had to cover his last year, where it was just post game after post game of just,
Yeah.
man, this is a bad team.
I hope that's not the case. It would only be similar in the performance and the record on the field. McGuire is nothing like Adams personally, and how he conducts himself, how he runs his program. I don't have any of those concerns with Joey McGuire. My concern with Joey McGuire is the opposite, right? It's Adams could coach X's and O's on the court, but it was the off the court stuff and program running that Adams was a little weak with, right? Well, McGuire is the opposite. I'm concerned with the X's and the O's. I'm not concerned with the program and the direction. And I don't believe for 1 second that those kids have quit on him yet. As badly as they played against Washington, I don't think it's quit, TJ. I just think they're bad, and they got to play better.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt about it. Here on the Nation's official podcast with TJ and Blake, you can tell we're frustrated. Red Raider Nation is frustrated. I
This is
mean,
as frustrated as I've been with the football program since Matt Wells. Easily.
And speaking of Matt Wells, I mean, Cliff before that, Tommy Tuberville before that. This program has not done anything in football since I was a student. It's
since
been,
the
let's
man
be
that
real, it's
connected
2008.
We haven't done anything since the man that connected the two schools that played Saturday night, TJ. Single worst decision the Tech administration ever made was getting rid of him. And we've paid for it for what he got fired in 2010? Was it 10 or
Yeah.
11 he got fired? 10 was the year he got fired.
He got fired in 2009.
Was it end of 2009 going into 2010?
Yeah.
So we paid for it for 15 years now, and we're still paying for it. I still have belief and confidence that Joey can be the guy to get us back to being a competitive football program, but we've been wandering in the wilderness for 15 years, and it's frustrating. The memes
I
are coming
think
out. When does basketball start? And I can't wait because that's the program that makes things better after a long,
that's the
terrible football
program that
season.
has our heart. That's the program that we love covering more anyway. However, that being said, like
I
this
want a good
football
football
team
team.
has got to figure it out. It's
Yeah.
got the money. It's got the NIL. It's got Patrick freaking Mahomes.
There's no excuse.
We've got the facilities. There is no excuse to not be a top 25 program.
You've got 100%. You've got the resources. You've got the recruiting grounds. You've got the fact that you're the biggest state school. You're the biggest Texas school in the Big 12. You've got the Cody Campbell and the NIL and Mahomes. Like, there's no excuse. You've got the stadium, you've got the practice facility. Like, go win games. And it's like what I said last week on our pod, TJ. Enough of the rah-rah, everything goes through Lubbock and we're going to compete for. Even this week, he talked about you're not going to win the Big 12 championship. You're not anywhere close, coach. Stop talking, a huge game and go out and win some damn football games.
And Blake, I mean, I'm getting so frustrated with this football program. I'm gonna say this, and I don't want to make anybody mad. This is just my personal approach
Oh, I know where you're going with this.
to football. Okay, I watched the Dallas Cowboys on Sunday. They beat the Cleveland Browns.
Shocked how well that they played, by the way. I'm frustrated with the decision to pay the quarterback. That's another conversation.
That's
He's our
another
quarterback.
podcast.
He's our quarterback now. They were better than I would have ever guessed that they would crush a good Cleveland team.
Hey, my thing with the Cowboys, and ever since the whole Dez caught it, didn't catch it debacle,
sure,
my heart and Cowboys fandom was taken out of my body that day. I watched the Cowboys one game at a time. I don't get too high. I don't get too low. My expectations, I'm not drinking any Cowboy punch.
Neither am I.
I'm not saying rah, the Cowboys are going to the Super Bowl.
Right.
There's none of that.
That's where we're headed.
I'm afraid I'm about to have to start treating the Red Raiders with my emotions like I do the Cowboys, and just watch one game at a time and pray we get to a bowl game.
It's incredibly frustrating, TJ. Like you said, there's no excuses. Like you don't. This is year 3. This is your team. We've said that already on this podcast a couple of weeks ago. Like, you've got everything you could want, coach. It's time to start getting some wins and playing good football. And right now you're playing like a very, very poorly coached, undisciplined, bad football team. And if they continue to play like this, TJ, maybe they win a game at some point in the Big 12 just because maybe at home you beat something, but like you got to play better, or that's what you're staring at if you don't start playing better.
We talked about it. This afternoon.
Maybe they can beat Prime because Colorado's
they're bad.
They're bad.
We talked about it. We talked about it this afternoon off air. We both think that Coach Joey McGuire is his job is safe.
Yes, I think he's here next year
with our hearts.
Yeah, I think even if they were to lose it, like absolute worst case scenario, they lose out, like maybe then he doesn't survive just because of the overwhelming, like just groundswell. Even then, like I think they would offer up Kitley as a sacrifice and bring him back for another year. Like that's the sacrificial lamb. Get ready because when they go, if they go 3-9 or 4-8 or something like that, just this abysmal season.
If that's the record.
Well, yeah. If that's the record,
not justify bringing his coaching staff back.
Kitley will be the sacrificial lamb.
The complete staff.
Yep.
Going 4-8.
Kitley will be what is offered up to the fan base as here you go, here's a head, and McGuire is brought back for another at least 2. I think he's got 2 more years minimum, especially with the buyout and what they did with his contract. Like I would be surprised if you could buy McGuire out in the next 2 years and still be able to go make a competitive offer and get a coach that's not doing the same thing again, where you're hiring some unproven project at head coach that doesn't make any like. If
you names for you, this will be fun.
If in 2 years or 3 years you move on from McGuire, at that point it's got to be we're going to go hire a proven winning power like a Dan Mullen from me. It's like go hire somebody with some skins on the wall, not no.
Art Briles, who should have gotten the job after Leach left anyway.
No.
And for those that don't know,
I can't do the Art Briles. I can't do the Art Briles thing, TJ. If they hired, I love Tech Sports. I will always, if no, because it's still the Briles thing. Like he was involved in that program. I love Tech Sports. I will always support Tech Sports. If they hire Art Briles, I will not watch a single Tech football game until he is no longer the head coach. Period. Well, you can't do that.
And then how about this one? How about this name? Coach O, Ed Orgeron.
I saw that on
Could you
social media.
imagine Ed Orgeron in the
That's
LBK?
a joke. If they hire that would
Hey,
be
I do a
Medwell's
pretty
guy.
good Coach O.
That would be I'm sure you do. It can't be that difficult to do.
I got a deep voice. If I talk
Yeah,
like this, I'm gonna go to LBK, man. We gonna raid them Red Raiders, man. We're gonna play
exactly.
their defense.
No. Um no. Just no.
Oh man, we're so bad. You gotta laugh at it, Blake. The Nation's official
Yeah.
podcast with TJ and Blake here, and as we, man, I'm laughing. Man, I'm doing too much, Coach O.
Yeah, it's like I said, TJ, I think we've hammered them pretty good. I guess we can make a pick for North Texas. But it's bad, and this is I think we're both as frustrated as we've been in a long. This I'm way more frustrated right now than I was at any point last year, by far.
For sure, because the writing's on the wall.
Yeah, I mean
As I
it
continue
is.
to
Go down the
recover
wrong
from
pipe.
the Coach O
Yeah,
impression.
yeah. There you go. No, DJ. As far as the game this week, the fact that I'm having to think this hard about this is speaks volumes. Have you seen what happened with the line? It opened at 12.5. It's all the way down to like 9.5 and approaching 9. And I mean, it's moved 3 points already.
Dude, I've got before you make your pick.
Are you going to pick them? Are you picking North Texas?
Well, now if we lose this one, okay, this is gonna hurt me personally. Our buddy Ted Emmerich, our buddy Ted Emmerich, UNT alum. I've got several friends that go to UNT. It's all caca, right? I went to Big Bad Texas Tech. Come on, man. Please, football guys. Let's get a dub. All right, Blake.
Yeah, TJ. The fact that I'm even having to think about this it speaks volumes. I will say that Baron Morton and the offense bounce back and play a good game. They will protect the football at home, especially
Taj
with
or
how
no
much.
Taj?
I don't think it matters against North Texas at home on a fast track. I think Taj will play. I don't think he's going to risk this team dropping another game. The offense plays better, and they win a shootout, something like 41-30, 41-35, and Tech fans are still wanting to take pitchforks and torches to the football facility because they're still unhappy with that, and justifiably so. TJ, this is a game that could lose, and I never thought I'd be sitting here saying that.
I said it a week ago.
Yep,
I said I'm worried about this game.
Yeah,
this Saturday in the Jones.
Bad.
If you would have told me that I'm going to be worried about North Texas in the Jones,
it's pitiful. I mean,
and it just goes to show. I mean, we're fans. I'm an alum, and this is just we are a reflection of the fan base, Blake, and his fan base is not happy right now.
Yeah, it's bad, DJ. Like I said, after the game Saturday and then into Sunday, I saw more memes and gifs making fun of the football program from Tech Twitter and talking about when does basketball start and basketball come save us. And
dude, I saw one today from an Iowa State fan that was like, I'd love to be bashing Texas Tech right now, but their fan base seems to be doing a good enough job on their own.
Exactly. The whole conference, the Hateful Eight, I think, have a bond, obviously, because they stayed through this. And so the fan bases at least have, for the most part, been amicable with each other on social media. And they've formed this little brotherhood, right? But they like to give each other. Everybody else doesn't even have to rag on us because our fan base is doing a good enough job doing it themselves.
Oh man! So all right, get to your pick, my friend.
I like I said, Tech something like 41-35.
Okay, 41-35.
They will not. I don't think they cover.
And then, so is that a cover or no cover? I'm not good at math.
They do not cover.
They do not cover. Okay. So my Vegas expert says Tech does not cover.
Run the other direction. Don't put money on Tech this week. Run as fast as you can away from it.
Oh man. Well, Blake, let's get out of here. Apparently there's some big political event tonight. Don't know if you're interested. I'm not, but I might be. as we sit here and record this on Tuesday, I'm going to get this to the guys at the Nation tonight, and we'll see what happens on Saturday. So, Blake, how do we always close these things, bub?
Rag 'em.
Wreck 'em. We'll talk to you guys soon.